I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
This Sunday, December 18th, 2022, 8:20 p.m., FedexField. The 7-5-1 New York Giants come to town to take on the 7-5-1 Washington Commanders. Welcome to District Divided, everybody. I am Amit. That is KDot. This is your Commanders podcast. We're going to give you our perspective from the Washington side. We're also going to talk a little bit about Daniel Jones and the meaning of this game to him and his career and things like that. But we got to begin with KDot. KDot, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You ready? This is a big episode.
Ready.
This is a big episode.
It's a big episode, huge game. Still keeping things pretty medium, but yeah, I like the way things are shaping up. Spoiler alert.
Dude, this is one of the biggest games for the Commander, for this franchise in quite some time.
Yep.
And so I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you about it. So the structure of this episode, of course, how we normally do preview episodes, we'll have the Commanders offense against the Giants defense. We'll flip the script, the Giants offense against the Commanders defense. We'll give you our prediction based off of the line and the over-under. We get into the comment mailbag and we do the after the pod where we talk about anything and everything on there. KDot, let's start about your initial impression of this matchup. We're coming off of the bye week, right? The bye week was great for us in terms of the results around the league. It was really, really good. And it's now set up for this monumental clash between third and fourth place in the NFC East, the Commanders and the Giants. But both, as of right now, are in the playoffs. So what do you make of this matchup so far? Initial impression.
It's shaping up exactly how I thought it would. So let's see. If you heard me over the last few weeks, the only thing that happened over the last 2 weeks that I did not plan for was us tying the Giants. I thought we'd be a game down. So yeah, I think we're sitting very fucking pretty. I mean, to have a Sunday where we didn't have to stress, because look, all these Washington games, as much as they've been good as far as the results have been, some of them have been a chore to watch, and they're all been down to the wire. And the thing with both of those things is that it allowed last Sunday to be a stress-free Sunday. And then when you say, oh, we jumped up to the 6th seed and we did nothing, pretty dope. Pretty fucking dope. So, I mean, it's amazing. And then just seeing what happened when the Giants did have to play last week, which, if anybody heard the last couple of episodes, what I say, they were going to get the brakes beat the fuck off of them. And guess what happened? They got the brakes beat the fuck off of them. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's all shaping up to be an extremely exciting, dramatic sort of thing. We're just hoping that the play on the field is better than what we saw in the tie game to be worthy of primetime. But the outcome of this game and how important this game, the NFL did it right. They flexed it into the right position. I just hope we can live up to the billing as far as entertainment.
Well, let me just say this. I don't give a fuck about the national audience. If they don't enjoy this game, that's fine. Do something else. Because for us, this is a huge game, and that's what matters. It's Washington. It's New York. It's the NFC East. If it's sloppy, it's sloppy. Deal with it. Okay? This to me is, I've talked about it. We do the offense against the defense against the offense, etc. And we get into the players and the personnel matchups and stuff like that. Something we don't do enough, KDot, in my opinion, is talk about storylines. And this is an incredibly compelling storyline on both sides for both quarterbacks. Beginning with Daniel Jones, he is entering this. He's in a contract year, basically. Yeah. He needs this game. If you look at New York media, there have been a lot of doubters, been a lot of haters, and he's had himself a decent season, and they find themselves in the playoffs. He needs to make the playoffs to keep his chances of being the starting QB for the New York Giants alive moving forward. And then you look at Taylor Heinicke, who has been playing with house money this whole time, right? When he entered the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against Brady in the playoffs, there were zero expectations. We were double-digit underdogs, and he played the game of his life. And that allowed him to come back. Then we have Ryan Fitzpatrick. He gets hurt. Heinicke gets to start a whole year. And here we are in December with a meaningful game against the Giants. First one since 2016 when Kirk Cousins shot the bed the very last week of the season against some backups. This is the first time Heinicke has expectations on him. We're 4.5-point favorites, and he is fully expected to win this game. What is he going to do with the pressure on him this time versus just being able to play with house money? Because I feel this scenario is different. I'm very curious to see how Heinicke responds to that. Do you have any initial thoughts on how he will respond to it?
The same way he always does.
This is totally different to me because he's only been favored in his career 6 times as the starter. Now, he's won 5 of them and he's tied 1, and that was the most recent game. So he does win the games that Vegas expects him to. This is separate from covering. But when the Commanders are favored, or the football team is favored, he has delivered in terms of making sure that we win the game. He's won them. But this is December 18th? We're in the playoffs. The team we're going against is in the playoffs. If you listen to Pro Football Focus, if we win, there is a 91% chance we make the playoffs.
Yep.
If we lose, it drops to 41%. So I think this is a totally different thing.
Factor in Taylor Heinicke's game.
Okay.
I think primetime lights might have more to do with his game, but just the way that he plays, period. I feel like I see the same things week in and week out. I don't see his Tom Brady moment happening time in and time out. Like he doesn't.
What do you mean by Tom Brady moment?
The fourth quarter, I don't care what the score is, we're still in this game thing. Like he doesn't have that, right? Or he doesn't have the his thing is when you need a play, like gunslingers like him do, they pull it out of their ass more often than not, but they also make terrible mistakes week in and week out. Like I really do think he's more in line with Brett Favre than anybody else. And that's the thing, is that you can look at so many plays and so many times where Brett Favre rose the occasion, right? But when you look at it in the grand scheme of everything, it wasn't because necessarily of the occasion. It's just the way that Brett Favre plays. It's just like he can have a game on a Monday night where he throws for 4 touchdowns, or 4 touchdowns in the first half when his dad passed away. But then he could be playing as a Minnesota Viking favorite and throw an interception out of fucking nowhere to end his career and end the season. So it's like, I just see when you have that, you take the good with the bad. And to me, it's more dependent on what is the rest of the team doing. And Taylor, are you going to take more advantage of the stuff that you leave out there on the field? Like the stuff he left out in the field the last time that we played New York.
All right, so then let's jump into the Commanders' offense against this Giants defense. Just from the injury perspective, Tyler Larson is not going to be available. He's now on IR. And Wes Schweitzer, who normally plays guard, is now going to be the starting center for this team. So that's something to definitely take note of. On the other side, Adoree Jackson had not practiced the last couple days. We'll see what happens on Friday. But he may miss the game, and that's pretty big. So looking at this side of the ball, we've touched on Heinicke, and him being a favorite, him probably staying the same in your eyes of just, hey, this is what he does. He will continue to do just that. From a matchup perspective, do you like it, especially after what you saw the Eagles do against the Giants? Does that not play in your head at all? And you just look back to the matchup 2 weeks ago and go, more of the same?
No, I mean, all the pieces matter. To get a wire line in. New York is getting worse as a team. They haven't won a game since week 10, and that was against the Houston Texans. Before that, they had the bye week, then a loss against Seattle, then they had the win against Jacksonville, and that's when they were on their run at the beginning of the season, right? The New York that people are remembering as far as the play hard, try hard team, that Brian Dable could be the guy, are the things that we're thinking about since week 7. They haven't necessarily existed since then. They haven't looked good. And if I'm looking at it as far as what the Washington offense can do, it is more the same, but it's shoring up the thing that I think makes Taylor Heinicke, to me, the biggest issue with Taylor Heinicke is the consistency. I hate this. There's too much of this. It's up and down as far as shit that I see, right? I need more consistent play at just a higher level. Like, I look at what he did in some of the second half of like that game against New York. Or you have certain moments that he's had this season where he strings together like a quarter or a half of some solid play. And then I look at this Giants game and I'm like, you had Logan Thomas open on that opportunity. You could have made that throw on that opportunity. And I'm looking at all the stuff that he's just not making, where when the way that we play is not Taylor dropping back. I mean, I know he dropped back 41 times, but a lot of that had to do with the overtime. It's not dropping back 35 times a game. It's run the fucking football. But when you're running the football and your time possession stuff, you're limiting what the opposing offense can do, then anytime that you do have an opportunity to throw the ball and make that play, to pick up the third down, to get that touchdown, you have to take advantage of it. And that's the thing that I've been seeing that we haven't been doing enough, is take advantage of those moments. We're leaving points on the board. You look at the time possession in that game, especially early on, we should have had a lead. And if we were scoring the way that we needed to, we would have had the lead, and we would have consistently had that. And that's my thing, is that like New York right now, you've seen that they're struggling more than probably anything in stopping the run, which is the thing that we excel at and the thing that we have been getting better at doing, right? We ran for 165 against them last time they played. They just gave up 253 against against Philadelphia. We've been saying Brian Robinson's been getting better. The more that the further away he's gotten from being shot, the better he's gotten. He's just had a week of no contact to rest the fuck up, to get even better, more removed from what it is that happened to him. The script needs to be the same thing that we said going into the last game. Run the goddamn football down their throat. You have the opportunity to do so. And outside of that, Taylor needs to make the plays when he can. He had a couple of great throws in there. The Jahan Dotson throw, the
Curtis Samuel one.
The Curtis Samuel one. He's finding Curtis Samuel. I give him credit in that New York game. Is one of the criticisms I had for him was getting more of the skill position guys involved. And he did a good job with that. But what I want a lot of people to do is realize, and if you take a look at the All-22, or you take a look at there are a lot of throws that he still makes that you're just kind of, oh shit. God damn.
We know what he is. I mean, he had a whole season starting, right? And now he's had a string of games where he started again. We know what he is. I think he's shown some improvement. You talk about the run-pass balance. We ran it 34 times. Yeah, he dropped back 41 times. We also ran 34 times.
It was the overtime.
And it's the overtime, exactly. So if you look at it from a balance perspective, and you also factor in the overtime, that's pretty good. You then look at the targets, right? McLaurin with 12. Curtis Samuel with 7, Jahan with 9. We had mentioned getting Jahan more involved with 9. So that is 28. 28 targets out of the 41 throws are going to your big three, so to speak. So I think we're seeing, from an offensive game plan perspective, the right things. And this is where I sort of go, I've never seen Taylor in a situation in the NFL where there is actually expectation on him, and it's not just a house money situation. So that's where I'm coming from.
Look, I don't know what you guys are looking at, but the expectation has been on him all season for me, which is why maybe I'm more critical on Taylor Heinicke than the rest of you guys are, is that I look at the position, I'm saying, we need more from it. Like, I look at that first game against New York, we scored 13 points in the first half, 2 field goals and a touchdown. If you look at the way those things had, he had opportunities to get us more points, and he didn't take them. And now I get it. The offensive line and what it is they're having to do with the tight ends, having them basically max pass blocking. And you have Logan Thomas is not as good at pass blocking. Neither is John Bates this year. Just hasn't necessarily looked great. But I understand that he's limited, but there have been guys open that he's not hitting.
So I have a question for you, because a lot of NFL starting QBs miss throws, right? And Taylor does as well. He is also one of those starters that is going to miss some throws. Your expectation of Taylor, what is it? So just lay it out for us.
To take more advantage of the opportunities that are clearly open for you.
I mean, statistically speaking, let's talk about that. That's what I mean. So statistically speaking, what sort of like completion percentage?
He's got 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on 7 games played. He's a 61% completion rate. I'd like that number above 65 as far as completion percentage. I'd like that touchdown to interception ratio to be a lot better.
Okay.
And I don't think that's too much to ask.
Okay.
Like those 2 things alone are something that I say, okay, we should probably get better at that. Like the numbers that screams out to me that he does great at is he doesn't take sacks, which is the big thing that he does compared to Carson Wentz, right? The main thing, even though he took 5 in that Giants game. That to me has been the thing, is that we can't necessarily rely on him throughout a game to drop back 30 times if it calls for it. And to score 4 touchdowns. Like that's my thing, is that like there are opportunities in these games with the skill position guys that we have that you should be able to throw 3 to 4 passing touchdowns a game, or at least have a few games where it happens. And it doesn't happen because it bogs down in the red zone. He makes the throw that he would typically make that works most of the time, which is in the triple coverage with Terry McLaurin or in the double coverage with Jahan Dotson. And then when that happens and they pull off some miraculous sort of shit, when you really look at, well, Logan Thomas was there in the flat and he could have probably gotten there. Or Curtis Samuel, he bootlegged out. He's out there. And, if you looked at the third option, he's there. Just do that one.
Right. I think I understand your frustration and how you want him to be more. By the way, there are 20 QBs with a 65% or higher. That does not include Aaron Rodgers. That does not include Josh Allen. That does not include Derek Carr.
God,
so I'm just saying that this happens.
Is there any sort of situation in which you could look at Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers and say that Taylor Heinicke is in any circumstances better?
At your red zone
answer the question. Answer the question.
I will, but I want to also point out your red zone thing, which
I'm not attacking him.
You're not.
I'm criticizing him legitimately for the stuff that's happening on the field. Y'all do not have to keep taping for this dude. I love Taylor Heinicke.
And I'll answer. I know you do, and I'll end up answering your question as well.
I like goddamn MAGA people. Like I can't. Like you want to tell me to go to another country? Like what is happening?
You can certainly criticize him. Is
Taylor Heinicke not? Do you think Taylor Heinicke is a top 20 quarterback in the NFL?
Top 20? Yeah.
Yes. Do you think he's top 15?
Maybe.
9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions.
It depends on what he's being asked to do.
61% completion percentage.
I'm saying maybe. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. I'm saying maybe.
I think
in the red zone.
This is Kool-Aid.
KDot.
Have some.
Let me speak. KDot. In the red zone, 6 touchdowns, no picks. He's doing well in there. Okay. Just to counter what you were saying about the red zone being a silly zone for him. 6 touchdowns, no picks. He's been great in there. Okay.
I didn't say he's throwing picks.
Now, I didn't say picks.
I said they're not executing as far as touchdowns.
6 touchdowns, no picks in there. He's doing
how many field goals?
Don't know.
That's my point, Amit. I'm not saying he's throwing picks in the red zone. I'm saying I want touchdowns.
Yeah, we all want
touchdowns. They've been there. Okay. They are there. The guys are open. He's not hitting them.
What was your question about Allen, Rodgers, etc.? I know Heinicke's not them.
He's not theirs. There's no reason to even bring up that part of the debate. We understand it. All I'm saying is that there are opportunities being left on the field that he's not taking advantage of. That's it. Period. Point blank. If he did do that in that Giants game, guess what we have? A win. Now, I don't think it's all on Taylor. I don't. But like you said, they've been keeping the balance, right?
Right.
And when you have those situations where you're going to be down to a very, very slim margin of error because of the way that we run the football and play defense, then on offense, when someone's open, you have to hit them. You have to. When somebody's in the end zone, you have to take advantage of every opportunity. Why? Because more likely than not, it's going to be a 1-score game at the end of the day. So what you have to do is take advantage of every single time. So when you have a when you have a 13 points in the first half, that could have very easily been at least 17.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4 points mean a world of fucking difference.
Of course.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I think you want more for him. I'm not sure we can get more from him. That's all I'm saying. Right.
Well, here's the point. We have to, in order to make this run that we're going to make, we could get another tie, or what I'm asking Taylor to do, because you just said it. You said that he's getting better. I even said at the beginning of my thing, I love that he's getting more of the guys involved in the skill position players.
And he did really well last game with that.
He did an amazing job with that. And what it is the next step in that progression is, all right, holy shit, there's more than just Terry can do this thing. Oh shit, Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dodson can do it too. Maybe I can rely on these guys. So you know what I'm going to do next time that I drop back? I'm actually going to look through my progressions because I actually trust the other guys.
And that's what he did. Cool.
So that's what I'm saying, is that if he does that, it's the next step. That to me could be enough.
Okay. The way you were making it sound was like it hadn't already happened.
No.
And it literally just happened.
Cool. We saw a microcosm of what it is that we should be seeing from a consistency standpoint going forward with him. Hopefully, if he takes the next run.
Okay, so let's talk about progression in that case. I think the next step here is wherever Fabian Moreau's playing, throw to that receiver. Because Fabian Moreau, you talk about great quarterbacks. You look at, and you'll hear commentators, specifically QB color commentators, go, wherever their weak corner is,
Christian Holmes.
Over and over. Yeah, there you go. So, we'll look at it oftentimes, get Terry his targets. We know Taylor. He's going to do that, and he's going to throw some up blindly. But oftentimes, if Fabian Moreau's one-on-one with Jahan or Curtis, heck,
launch it.
Cam Sims, Dax Smith, I don't care. Throw them the ball.
Right.
Okay. So that's just something else I wanted to point out as well. Of course, we're going to run. Brian Robinson had a really nice game against the New York Giants the last time we played him. Antonio Gibson was also fine, but that run pass balance will be there. Okay.
And on the running game, Brian Robinson needs to trust his speed more than he does. In that game against the Giants, we talk about missed opportunities. He had a walk-in touchdown. If he realizes he's faster, there's moments where he can cut outside and beat that guy to the line, beat that guy and have them have terrible leverage. And he's not doing it because I don't think he trusts that he's fast enough to do it. But even if that's not the case, Brian Robinson to me has not shown yet that he's a home run hitter as far as a runner goes. Antonio Gibson's your home run guy.
Correct. 9
carry for Antonio Gibson compared to the 21 for Brian Robinson. Got to get that more in line, ratio-wise. In my opinion.
And I'm going to disagree there and say I think that split is fine.
Not 9. You got to get, I think, more than 9. Especially if they're getting Robinson involved in the passing game now.
Robinson was running very effectively that whole game. Mm-hmm. So I see no problem with it. If he's running effectively, it's just going with the hot hand. It's as simple as that. He played a good game. Did he not cut in? Yes. Is he also discovering himself and still recovering from that? Yes. So I think you are seeing a rookie figure out what he can and cannot do in this league. And he's finding out each week that he can do more. And so this bye week would have been helpful in that respect. If he has the same run, who knows? Maybe he does cut inside and go, yeah, I got this.
Absolutely. So, all I was trying to do was give you motivate. Brian, you're faster than you think, bud. That's what it's basically. Right. Believe in yourself. I believe in you.
Completely agree. All right, cool. Any other thoughts on the offensive side of the ball against this Giants defense?
Yeah, the Tyler Larson thing is huge because we gave up 5 sacks in that game against New York. And that's one thing that we've always said as far as the Taylor Heinicke-led Washington Commanders is that we don't give up those sacks that way, right? Mm-hmm. The O-line didn't get healthier. So unless there's some kind of change when it comes to the game plan, they need to figure out a way to make sure that Taylor Heinicke's staying upright. Because it wasn't only that he was getting hit. That motherfucker was getting smacked. Like there was that time where he kept looking at his non-throwing hand throughout like a couple quarters. And I was just like, you could clearly see something's bothering that dude. We've got to figure out a way to keep him upright.
And to your Brett Favre point for Taylor, he still made that insane 4th and 6, 4th and 7 throw to Curtis against his body and everything. So
that's why he wears 4. He's fucking Favre light.
And the improvement is there. And the improvement is continuing to happen. Yes, there's some inconsistency. We're still finding out what the ceiling is. I don't think it's particularly high, but I think it's definitely a serviceable starting QB. And if he wins this game, you think about his next contract, whether it's here, whether it's somebody else. He could be a bridge QB. Someone could view him as a long-term starter. Who knows? It's a big game for him individually as well as this team, of course.
100%.
Let's go ahead and flip the script. Let's talk about the Giants offense led by quarterback Daniel Jones and running back Saquon Barkley against this Commanders defense that has been playing very well overall, KDot. Like, it has been night and day since the first 3-4 weeks of the season. The moment Camp Curl comes back, this defense looks transformed. We got to talk about Chase Young as well. So Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, I want to begin with Chase Young, of course, because he's a pretty big part of this defense when healthy. They've been a bit guarded. He's been limited in practice this week. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we first played the Giants on the road and talked about MetLife. And of course, now Tyler Larson gets hurt and he wants a safer field. I believe that was his tweet. So good thing we didn't play Chase Young there.
Yeah.
Now we're at home. Do you expect Chase Young to play this week?
I don't know what the hesitation is right now. So like to me, there are a couple rules of thought. It's either they legit don't want to mess with the chemistry of the D-line, which I think is a legitimate thing that they might have an issue with. And is he 100% healthy? So like those two things to me is like, if he's not 100% healthy, no, I do not trot him out, period. Because of the stop where you drafted that dude, what he does well, and so far he's already been hurt. Let him take his time to fucking rehab, do whatever he needs to do. I don't believe in trotting him out, especially with the defense performing at the level at which they are, right? Mm-hmm. But that also being said, if the issue is more of the first school of thought, then I just fundamentally disagree with it. Because to me, this is the prime spot to have him play in limited action down this stretch, which is, I don't throw him out there, period, unless we're in a 3rd and long situation where he can just pin his ears back.
Sure.
And that to me is like, you can get your game way up. You get your game feel just through that. And you see it happen for a lot of these teams when they go on these runs, right? They usually have a pass rusher come back, or they make a signing for a pass rusher during this time period. Somebody fresh, they could just say, fuck it, let's go. You look at all those teams that win the Super Bowl with like an old pass rusher that just is, you look at the DeMarcus Wares and the guys that just come
Rams
in.
Got Von Miller in the middle of last season.
Rams got Von Miller. The Eagles with Long. Like, it's, hey, go just do your thing. And that to me is something that could energize this team. And it's something that, like, I want to get these teams off the field they're down. I think we've done a pretty good job of it. But the biggest news to me, period, point blank, is Benjamin St. Jude fucking coming back. Yeah, give me that all day fucking every day. Yeah. Over Chase Young's return. To be completely honest.
Well, I don't know about over Chase Young's return, but it's incredibly important.
Over Chase Young's return.
Really? I don't know.
I mean, look, here's the thing. How many sacks did Chase Young have last year? And how many starts?
Dude, listen, we played some really, really good.
I'm saying.
I understand where you're coming from.
And look, he has to play in order to get better. I get that. He's got to figure that out. He's got to figure out how to change out. He doesn't want to be the Brian Iraq post throwing his hands up every fucking night.
Let's talk about this real quick. If he doesn't play this week, regardless of result, do you think about shutting him down?
No, I mean, I still look at it in the sense of like, all right, are you ready yet?
Yeah.
And let's all that. And anybody, I saw this online, is we should shut him down because it's a distraction. Distraction of fucking who?
That I remember seeing that and thinking that's insane. Because for me, you have an IR, you have IR. You have a certain amount of time to get off of IR, and then you have a certain amount of time to become an active roster member. That's it. What if you're 2 weeks beyond that? Are you just supposed to be shut down for the sake of being shut down? It makes no sense. No. This team right now, especially with the win, we just said it, 91% chance to make the playoffs. You don't think we can use him? You don't think they're teams that have great defensive lines, good running games, that have made runs deep into the postseason? We are trying to build towards that. There is zero reason to shut down Chase Young unless you know your season's over, and we will not know our season's over regardless of the result this coming Sunday. So you got to play him 100%. Once he's ready, even if it takes an extra couple of weeks. Who cares? If he's 100%, you're not taking Chase Young. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And St. Jude's coming back is huge, massive for the secondary. Let's talk about Daniel Jones. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley, because last time we did a pretty decent job on Saquon, but we did an awful job on Daniel in terms of running the ball. What adjustments would you like to see there, KDot?
Stop him. I don't
But
know.
like how?
So,
Like right,
so
right.
Cole Holcomb's
From the
out.
fan perspective.
He's gone, right?
Mhm.
Jamin,
Superstar.
okay. I hope he's back next year, but I don't think it's likely. So Davis is the guy that you're probably looking at more than anything else and say he's probably supposed to be responsible, or he should be the guy responsible for spying that quarterback. At least in my opinion, right? But then I look at the last 2 games that we have played. We knew what Marcus Mariota could do, didn't stop him. We know what Daniel Jones could do, didn't stop him there. So I don't know. I don't know what it is they need to do to adjust. I feel as though you got to still maintain the pass rush the way you need to because Daniel Jones, you got to get him kind of scatter feet. But I think there needs to be a discipline that happens from the defensive line or a linebacker to know there's a good chance if enough guys get upfield, he's going to pop it back the other way, and we need to make up that ground.
So it seems like, and maybe it's changed, and it sounds like you may have dabbled in the all 22 from the last time we played the Giants. Jamin, to me, is primarily responsible for covering the running back. I remember that early in the season, and covering Saquon's incredibly important. And Jamin, you talk about confidence with Brian Robinson. When Jamin's confident, he's actually very fast. And he can keep up with a lot of these running backs. So if he's not available to spy Daniel Jones, right? Because let's say Saquon's going into the flat or something like that, and we're playing man, not zone, let's say. What do we do there? Like, I think that's where we get back to lane discipline, right? Keeping Daniel in the pocket. And we've talked about it over and over again. But mobile quarterbacks have a tendency in the last couple of years to do well against us. We've had a couple instances where we have done well against them, right? You talk about Jalen Hurts, for example, in that game where everything needed to go right and it did.
Right.
We have instances where we have maintained that discipline. And I think it's incredibly important we do it again because, and this will be telling for Daniel Jones' future as well, we need to see what he does as a passer. And getting St. Juste back is going to help big time because of that length that we missed the last time we played the Giants. So more than ever, keep Daniel in the pocket and make him beat you. I know he actually had a pretty good statistical game against us last time, and he did make some nice throws. But again, getting St. Juste back, making that pocket collapse a little bit. That Giants offensive line is not particularly good. This is your chance to do it.
No, I agree with all those things. Like, you look at Jamin's job, if it was, and he was covering Saquon. Saquon had 5 catches in that last game, but only for 18 yards.
Flat. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
It was 18 yards. So he was right there, Johnny, in spot, making the tackle, and it's hard to tackle Saquon Barkley. So good job for those guys. But yeah, that's the thing is, or whatever the defensive line is doing, they get the penetration, they get up the field, but there's nobody left, and there's a no man's land. And I think that what you're seeing is that if you have, especially the speed that we have on that defensive line, like a Montez Sweat, is maybe telling Montez every once in a while, hey, hang back, let the other 2 guys go, and try to get upfield and be there on the recovery to see what Daniel's doing, so you can make up that. Because give me Montez Sweat over Daniel Jones, they got to have a sprint off, right? So that's the thing. They've had ample opportunity to try to rectify this against a running quarterback, and they just haven't done it enough. I needed to take a look and see what it is they did against Jalen Hurts in that second game. Or I know what they did. They just didn't give him enough opportunities to have the fucking football. So offense was the best defense as far as just keeping the time possession. I'd like to see the same thing happen. Limit their opportunities on offense.
Yeah, no, completely agree there. And I'm just looking at Daniel Jones' rushing figures right now. And in the last few games, 26 yards and a touchdown against Philly, 71 against us, 14 against Dallas, 50 and a touchdown against Detroit. So it really is sort of a mixed bag. Where
he takes what they're giving you.
Yeah, exactly.
He absolutely takes what he's giving you. But I will say there's one statistic that I do care about a whole lot from Daniel Jones coming in this game.
Go ahead.
He's 0-9 in primetime.
Hey, you got to love that. It's nice to have a guy at QB for us that seems to be all right in prime time. You know?
No moment seems too big for him.
Yeah.
Because he treats every moment the same fucking way. Reckless abandon.
Which I can tell you absolutely love. But
I love when I'm watching a Replacements movie. So I love it when there's certain aspects I'm like, yeah. If every quarterback had 10% of Taylor Heinicke's moxie, they'd all be better for it. But you don't need all of it. You don't need all of it. You're drowning in moxie.
All right. Well, I was about to jump to the common mailbag, but we have predictions to make, KDot. So now the Commanders, and I've mentioned it a couple times on this show, 4.5-point favorites at home Sunday night. And the over-under is 40.5. Let me just double check. Yes, that is correct, KDot. As always, I need a score, I need a winner, and a player of the game.
Final score. Commanders 20, Giants 14. Take the under for point total, but we covered. Look, I've said this is a win. And in my opinion, if I look at the Giants over the last few weeks, they're only getting worse. I think that if we're a team playing to the capabilities of some of the talent we have on certain aspects of this team, this should be a bigger blowout. But because of the way that we have to play offense, because of a particular guy who has a lot of moxie, things are always going to be a lot closer than they necessarily need to be. And I think this is one of those games where, like always, it can change at a moment's notice. Because if there's a one bomb to somebody at some point in the game, if there's a kick return that goes sideways, then very, 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 very small, razor-thin margin of error, guys. We have to play fundamental football. But I think we'll get this win, and we're going to go on a nice little run coming up.
Okay. Well, I've got the Commanders. Oh, and your player of the game, sorry?
Player of the game?
Yeah.
The return of Gibby.
Okay. Tony Gibson. For me, Commanders 24, Giants 17. To both our credit, the last time we predicted the Giants-Commanders game, we both hit the under. We both hit the Giants on the spread because the tie actually favored the Giants, who were underdogs in that game. So we both have the Commanders covering the 4.5. I've got the over by a point. You've got the under by a few points. So take it how you will over there. I think Heinicke ends up playing very, very well. I think he ends up with 3 touchdowns. I think he plays the game that you're hoping for, because even last year coming off the bye, what happened? We were double-digit underdogs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Win the game. Now that's playing Tom Brady, and for whatever fucking reason, this dude loves a game against Tom Brady. But
teammate.
I know, it's incredible, but I do expect Taylor to have a good performance. You talk about spreading the targets out. I think we're going to continue to see that. You talk about Brian Robinson running better. I think you're going to see him sustain drives. I'm talking Robinson sustaining drives, not Taylor necessarily. And I do think you'll see a couple shots from Taylor that he will connect on. And I'm just very much looking forward to this game. So Taylor Heinicke is my player of the game. 3 passing touchdowns, 24-17 Commanders. Let's hope for the best there.
I'm looking at that stat line from the Tampa Bay game. 26-32, 81% completion percentage.
There you go. That's right up there with
256 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then Carolina the following week, 72%, 3 touchdowns. That's the game that I want right there. Is that one?
That was probably his best career game, the one against Carolina.
Yeah, that's
on the road too. It was incredible.
That's the thing, is like the run that he goes on from that Tampa Bay game to the Vegas game is holy shit. Who is this fucking guy?
Yeah, and that was Seattle and Vegas as well, right? Were the other 2 wins? 4 in a row. And then you talk about a meaningful December game. We're underdogs against Dallas, and he plays a horrible game.
I was there.
Yeah. So
I was there. I was there a couple weeks before. Never mind. I was there for the 2027 game.
That's the one I'm referring to, because that was the very next game after the Vegas one, I want to say.
44%.
Then he gets COVID. We play Philly with Garrett Gilbert. Then he comes back, and we get railed against Dallas.
7 of 22, 1 TD, 2 picks.
That was a nightmare.
And doesn't throw another touchdown the rest of the year.
There you go. So anyway, I'd like to think he has changed considerably, but we'll see. So let's jump over to the comment mailbag, where we, according to YouTube Studio, have 5 comments, but I can only see 4, and one of which is doubled. But we appreciate the comments, guys. It comes from Tony, it comes from Pally for Life, and it comes from Blood Clot. Let's begin with Blood Clot. KDot, that was a real clever comment on Victor Boot and Brittany Griner. Bravo. Appreciate the comment as always, Blood Clot. And then we got Pally for Life. I'm gonna need your help on this, KDot. I'm gonna need you to play the video from the comment because I think it's gonna come out better with your microphone. Beyond SpongeBob SquarePants, another classic Baltimore Club song linked below. Would love to get a live reaction from you boys. Love the pod. Share the pod. Beat New York, Monsieur X Pally for Life. Always appreciate the comment. KDot, if you have the video ready, you can.
For the big girl, watch out for the big girl, watch out for the big girl, big girl, big girl, big girl, big girl, big girl,
I dig it.
big girl, big girl.
Baltimore Club music, way to shit. That song's trash. Most of it's trash.
I enjoyed it. Appreciate that.
Dance
and
My
then-
Pain Away. Rod Lee. Yeah, Rod Lee. He does some good Baltimore Club music.
Rod Lee. Okay, I'll look up Rod Lee.
Dance my pain away. I got a problem. Dance
Maybe
my
after the pod,
pain
we'll just have you
away.
do the whole song. And then we got Tony. Shout out
Tony.
I've got used to saying I'm from DC, so people don't assume I'm from Bmore. PG and DC are not the same. If you know, you know, and that is absolutely true. I completely understand where he's coming from as well, where it's just easier to say it. It's just easier to say DC.
It's be honest, it is definitely different, but I understand Baltimore is not Maryland. It's just Baltimore.
It's its own thing. Yeah,
It's its own thing.
Yeah, my sister went to school Baltimore, and whenever spend some time there, it is its own unique culture relative to the rest of Maryland, and definitely relative to DC as well. It's pretty cool. I really like Baltimore.
I
It's
love
an
it.
awesome city.
Yeah, I
you
was
live
down
there.
in Greektown yesterday. Went down Federal Hill. Went to a near Euro spot. Favorite food in the planet, Euros. Found a
Okay.
Euro spot. It was pretty fucking good.
That aquarium's pretty dope too. They got some
Aquarium's
cool
dope.
stuff, man. They got some really cool stuff. And this was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, specifically a Commanders podcast these days. Thank you guys so much for listening. Really appreciate it. I am Amit. That is KDot. Let's root for this Commanders W. And we will see you guys for the reaction after the game on Monday. But until then, enjoy. We'll see you later after the pod begins right now. I really enjoy pushing your buttons on Heinicke. Because I think
like
I have
it
a
was
good
reversed.
sense of when to do it, though.
I felt your buttons were getting pushed more than my buttons were getting
I
pushed
think
by
so.
Heinicke. That's the way I felt about it. Because look, it just feels as though people have. I wasn't attacking Heinicke.
I know you weren't.
But it felt like
But
you
I
were
enjoyed-
uber
that's what I mean.
defending Heinicke.
No, I think it's easy to nitpick stats that make it look like he's better than
not
he actually is. Because
nitpicking
it's not
stats.
about the stats with him. It's not about the stats
It's
with him.
not about the stats. I'm literally. Do you know who? Do you?
That's why I
listen to
asked you to name stats, because then it became easy to defend him
Do you listen to Chris Cooley talk about the team?
on occasion.
Chris did a hell of a breakdown last week after that Giants game, and the frustration in Cooley's voice, because there's so many things that are just like Heinicke will do something, you're just like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then he misses something that's so fucking clear as day that doesn't get highlighted because of like the balls on that throw. And it's just like, just rein it the fuck in, guy. Like, just chill the fuck out and make the play that's necessary. It's one of the reasons why it's so frustrating as a guy. I like Carson Wentz. I do like Carson Wentz. I like him as a guy. I don't love him as much as I love Taylor Heinicke. I got more history with Taylor Heinicke. I love that dude, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is that there's certain aspects of things that Taylor Heinicke does bad that I'm like, dude, Carson can excel at that. And I'm like, and it frustrates the shit out of me because like I'd love Carson to get an opportunity with this. I really would, because I really do this. And I understand that he doesn't even necessarily deserve another chance.
Mhm.
But I really do think that with the team playing the way it is, he could thrive. And that my thing is that, like, I just think that a certain amount of talent at that position with the way the team is playing could have us like really thriving.
Of course. No, I mean, I think Wentz has the necessary talent to be an amazing quarterback in this league. But I think it's been so long since he's actually been good and actually been relevant. I know we talk about stats. Last year, he had a great statistical year. But if you talk to any of the Colts guys, fans, beat reporters, etc., They were winning despite him. Jonathan Taylor was unbelievable last season. And when they needed Carson to do something in the last 2 games, and I know you saw the last one against Jacksonville and you were like, it wasn't his fault. Ultimately, you just need to get it done. And that's something Taylor seems to bring, is that ability to get it done.
I don't agree with the most of the Colts guys on that though. Like I think the thing that you look at for Carson last year more than anything were the dropped interceptions. And that's something that was a giant red flag, right?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I don't think it's as simple as they were winning despite him. I don't think that's the case. And I also think that there were a lot of times where they gave him carte blanche on the line, where a lot of Jonathan Taylor's most successful runs were because he was checking out of things and giving him the opportunity. Like, to me, is that if I'm looking at the Commanders, especially early on this season, right?
Yeah.
We started getting excited early on this season because of the skills position players and the weapons that they had on offense. And then that sort of disappeared. Like, Jahan got hurt. Curtis Samuel became more of an afterthought, and it became the Terry McLaurin show. The first few weeks, we were just kind of like, well, where's Terry? And he wasn't getting the opportunities, right?
Right.
But we always know, hey, you really just got to give, like, he can play. We all know he can play. Like, so we weren't never worried about him, right? But it was like the other guys are kind of getting into the fold. And to me, is that up until that Giants game where more people were getting those targets, I feel as though something that I thought, and I still do think, could be like a backbone of this team. The same way that I'm not being hyperbolic. The same way you look at Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle is the same way, in the same way that Cincinnati looks at fucking Higgins and Chase.
Yeah.
I look at Dotson and I look at fucking McLaurin and say, those motherfuckers could be the best goddamn tandem in all of football if given the proper opportunities.
Okay.
That's what my thought process was. And like they became an afterthought. Now we're just a run first, smash mouth football team. And I'm like, I want us to be able to do that. But dude, when you see like San Francisco,
I'm so glad you brought that up. Go ahead. No, go ahead. And I'll jump in.
You see San Francisco with McCaffrey, with Debo, now he's hurt.
Right.
With Ayuk actually like quietly becoming like a top 10 receiver this year, and like nobody's talking about it. And Kittle, which we don't have a Kittle.
Cheat code. Yeah, he's great.
We don't have a Kittle, right?
Yeah.
Let me pull up San Francisco's. I want to pull this up.
We got a game against them soon. That's gonna be
interesting.
That's gonna be a fun episode as well.
Especially with Brock now starting. But
Mr. Irrelevant, looking great. Looking really good for them. But that's while you're doing that, go ahead.
All right, so I found it. So San Francisco, 21st ranked in yards, 25th points favored, right? I look at San Francisco and I look at the positions and players that they have on that offense, right? And I look back to every year they're in the conversation as far as like an NFC championship, right? And every year we know they're probably not going to the Super Bowl because their quarterback position is lacking. All the guys love the dude that's back there behind center, Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's never been enough to take you to the promised land, which is why the offseason before last, they went and they got Trey Lance, who was this huge fucking reclamation project, but none of the team wanted him because they love Jimmy G, right? But now it's a much easier thing to sell with Jimmy going down. It wasn't somebody that they picked over him. This is Mr. Irrelevant has now come into town, and he's and he just has to start. And now he's looking fucking great. And guess what's happening on that offense? It's opening up. They scored 33 fucking points against Miami. Like, you look at that offense and it's like, do we have a guy that might be able to throw the ball downfield better than Jimmy? And if that happens, what do you think Kyle keeps trying to upgrade the quarterback position? You know what I'm saying?
No, of course, no. I completely get that. I completely get that.
My thing is that Washington with a quarterback that can throw the ball downfield consistently.
You want my real take?
Yeah, good.
None of this matters because I don't think this is the coaching staff that is going to get this done. I think when you see the way San Francisco is built, when you see what happened against Tampa Bay, that turned into a coaching matters more than anything.
Yeah, but
Scott Turner, to me, just you're never seeing. So what Brock Purdy did yesterday with that double pump and then Kittle's just wide open, you will never see that from a Scott Turner offense ever.
Oh, hold on. Whoa, I so disagree with that.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Do you know Scott Turner's father is whom?
Norv Turner.
What style of offense did Norv
West
Turner
Coast.
run? What style of? There are two schools of thought in the West Coast offense. Do you know the two schools?
Go ahead.
Bill Walsh's West Coast offense and Don Coryell's West Coast offense.
Okay.
Don
What is
Coryell-
Don Coryell's? I know Bill Walsh's, but what's Don
Don
Coryell's?
Coryell was the coach for the San Diego Chargers. It's a vertical West Coast offense. It's streaming downfield. You're taking shots in a Eric Coryell offense. It's the same type of offense that Joe Gibbs brought to Washington, an Eric Coryell style offense. He was a coordinator in San Diego under Don Coryell. That's why the Fun Bunch and all those guys were known for being able to be huge targets down the field when you also had a power running game up front to complement it. You punch the guy in the mouth and you take your shots. Instead of what it is that the Bill Walsh style of offense is, slants,
Right.
timing.
And that's what you're seeing from San Francisco pretty
Right,
consistently.
because
Right.
Kyle Shanahan is a disciple from Mike Shanahan, who's a disciple from the Bill Walsh
Correct.
style of West Coast offense. Scott Turner's not from that school. He's not from that school. He's from the reason they have a Brian Robinson is to be the guy that punches guys in the mouth. Who was the best running back under Norvell Turner's era in Washington? Stephen Davis.
Stephen Davis. Yeah.
Punch you in the motherfucking mouth, Stephen Davis, right? Guess what? Brian Robinson's that guy. When you have a Jahan Dotson who is leading the league in touchdowns, when you have a
Early days. But
that's what I'm talking about. Early days, right? Then he
Okay.
gets hurt, and when he comes back, Carson's not there. And then when you have a Terry McLaurin, who Carson Wentz is hearing everybody talk about the fact that he had dropped interceptions in Indianapolis. Is hearing everybody talk about the fact that he makes the mistakes.
Well, you listen to him, he blocks it all out. He never hears any of this.
Bullshit. They're all human beings and they have to say anything all of them lie to us. Taylor Heinicke lies. They all lie to us. So when Carson Wentz, who hears that in his head, don't make the mistakes, don't make the mistakes, don't make the mistakes. He has no history with Terry McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's supposed to trust to throw the 50-50 ball. Seeing is believing, but you have to take the opportunities to show it, right? If he hasn't learned by now, standing on the sidelines watching Terry pull down the ball, then it's a lost cause. But I would hope to think he'd learn by now that the 50-50 ball thing with Terry is the truth. Because guess what no one else around the league is doing? Talking about Terry being the best 50-50 ball. You don't know unless you're watching the games. He's the most underrated guy because of that.
But I think people that believe in Carson are on that side, right? I would like to think that he has seen it, he has heard it, and he has internalized, I can throw a 50-50 ball to this guy.
Just take the shot.
Based on his history, I'm not sure that's going to be the case.
Based on his history, he's never had anybody he could throw the ball to like that.
You can make arguments about any number of situations around the league as well, for any number of players. And this is one of them for Carson. Of course, no. I understand where you're coming from. I just think that it's more the nonchalant attitude and seeing the consistent. What year was he in the league last season?
What are you talking about nonchalant attitude?
Okay. He looks like he doesn't really care. There's no charisma at that position. We've talked about the whole charisma thing.
We've talked about the charisma thing, but the more and more I talk about the charisma thing and the more and more I hear about the charisma thing is the more and more I'm saying that it is a manufactured thing that is make-believe. The thing is that they show Chase Young when he's not playing 50 fucking times a game.
Yeah.
They won't show you Carson Wentz once. Now, the thing is, when you do see Carson in a shot, when the quarterback...
That's because Taylor's played well enough. If Taylor wasn't playing well, they'd show him all the time. I guarantee that.
Hang on.
Okay.
If you do go... I got all the games recorded. I'm sure you probably got the games recorded.
I do. Yep.
When you do go and you see Carson, right?
Yeah.
On the sidelines next to Taylor after he comes out throwing the touchdowns, he's the first guy to congratulate him. And he's hype. Then if you hear the stories about coming out of...
teammate. That's different.
Hold on. When you hear the stories coming out of Ashburn, right? That on Thanksgiving, most of the players that didn't have a home to go to went to Carson's house. He's beloved in that locker room. We don't hear about the shit that's happening in Ashburn with Carson. We don't hear that shit. It's the same thing I used to hear about the Jay Gruden stories and his poker habits and all that kind of shit years ago. It's the same thing I know about RG3's birthday party that Trent Williams and the other guys didn't want to go to. The same way you hear about this shit is the same thing you hear about Carson, is the consummate, he's improved on all the things that people have heard negatively about him. Anyone that's around him says, we don't see it. It's the same thing you hear about in the locker room in Indianapolis. Those guys didn't want Carson to go at all.
That is true. That is true. And I think that's why you hear Ron Rivera go, Carson will now be the primary backup and we'll see from there. That's a direct quote.
As he should do. Yeah,
right. So he's very much keeping that door open, depending on what happens with Taylor this Sunday night, for example. If he completely stinks up the joint, welcome back, Carson. That's as simple as it is. Taylor's basically on a one-strike policy the rest of the way. Despite doing what he needed to do to win these games. Yes, of course, he could be better. We've discussed that ad nauseum, but that's the reality of the situation.
But I think when you actually look at the All-22, when you actually look at it, a lot of times we're winning in spite of Taylor Heinicke. And I think that's the thing that those numbers keep covering up for him in a lot of these games, is that there are things that he is just missing. Not missing in the sense of he's throwing an incompletion.
But Carson will miss over the middle high. He's done that his whole career. I'm not doing a comparison there right now. Just sticking with Taylor. Okay. Just stick with Taylor. I'll stick with Carson. You stick with Taylor. Go ahead.
That's cool.
Yeah.
With Taylor right now, the thing that I'm seeing is that he's not looking at the thing that he needs to be looking at. Period. Like there is some guy that's doing something and is open that he's just not looking at.
So is it that he's not going through his progressions?
That's the point. Is that so far what he's been doing up until the last game was knowing I don't need to look through my progressions because Terry McLaurin is downfield.
Got it.
The T-shirt says it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Terry's down there somewhere.
Brilliant shirt.
It's because it's so honest. He's telling you. I'm not reading the defense. I'm not reading shit. Terry's down the field.
I think he's done a better job checking it down this year, though.
He's done a better job checking it down to running backs, but not any to running backs, but not any of the shallow routes that are being ran.
But don't you think that's also on the OC to get more people involved as well? Make Jahan the primary.
If a fundamental,
make Curtis the primary.
But that's the thing that you've been seeing with Scott Turner. The Scott Turner, Air Coryell offense.
You believe in Scott Turner, just to be clear.
I believe in the Air Coryell offense. I believe in the Air Coryell offense.
Do you believe the guy that is a student of the Air Coryell offense?
With these guys,
Our offensive coordinator. Okay.
Yes. With the skills position players that we have.
I still think we could do a lot better.
Because you saw it early in the season. The guys were getting fucking open. Carson was making some terrible fucking throws. And Carson was staying back in the pocket entirely too long and taking sacks that were completely unnecessary. But Jahan got open. Terry was getting open. They had shots they could make. That's why all the skills guys looked so good early on, was they were fucking getting open. The offense works. That's the thing that a lot of people aren't getting through. When you look at the All-22, guys are getting open. They are open.
Yeah, but unless you have, because you hear about this with a number of teams, though, guys get open. But the reason I think I favor maybe more the Bill Walsh style, right, is it makes it easier because they're quicker, shorter throws.
I'm a Joe Gibbs guy, buddy, and he chose the Air Coryell offense.
And that's fantastic. But if you look at what Brady did in New England and they won all those Super Bowls, they didn't have these spectacular skill position players. They had Gronk, and he a freak, a unicorn, etc. But a lot of it was short throws. A lot of it was check down. A lot of it was 5-6 yards on first down, where literally James White turns around and that's it. That's the play. And next thing you know, it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4.
Different style offense
from there. I'm saying that's the one I prefer.
Yeah, but Brady's offense and what Brady does is what you're talking about with those shallow routes is Brady's release valve. Brady looks through his progressions on the field, and what Brady always needs is an out. He needs a guy that he can check down and either be second or third in the progression that he can rely on for 7 yards. That's what he wants.
Why do so many QBs struggle with this concept?
What?
It seems like so many starters struggle with being able to just check it down simply, and also struggle with forcing the ball or throwing it too high. There's so many.
It's like Patrick Mahomes even last year. It's they look for the home run, which is what you want to do, is look for the home run, and they don't do enough studying to know if I know what the defense is looking at, I might know what to look for my primary option, but I don't know what to look for my second and third options.
Okay.
It's what you saw. It's what, if you watch the chess match between best game of coaching I've seen all year, Miami versus LA.
That was fun.
Chargers game.
That was fun.
When you see what Brandon Staley was doing to Mike McDaniels,
dropping all those guys back. Yeah.
But it wasn't even necessarily dropbacks as much as, to me, it was what he was doing when it came to Tyreek Hill. Instead of having the top corner follow Tyreek, he would send the slot to run with. And what he used was inside leverage, because Tua loves one spot of the field more than any other spot of the field. So he disguised it. And then the thing was that Mike actually checked out of it and had guys sprinting open on the outside. Tua's afraid to make the throw. He's terrified to make the throw. Why? Because the safe thing that's been working for me all year is to throw it there. And now you've taken that away from me. So you know what he did? Tuck the ball and run. That's what you're seeing is the chess game when it comes to the coaching stuff. To me, what you're seeing with the Scott Turner offense is the Air Coryell and the Bill Walsh offense are not interchangeable. Okay? They're both
Understood.
West Coast offense, but they're not interchangeable. They're completely separate principles. And the thing that you're seeing with Scott is that all Scott has ever wanted is a guy that can throw the ball down the field. They tried it with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Him and a lot of other OCs. A lot of other OCs.
Depending. But like even with Kyle Shanahan wants somebody that can make all the throws, right? But even Kyle Shanahan's offense is not going to necessarily ask you to take a bunch of shots.
Like, how many QBs do you think are even capable of winning the Super Bowl, like on their own at that elite level? I think there are only 4.
What do you mean win it on their own?
Like, they are so good that no matter who you have around them, they can win. Mahomes certainly, for example.
Only one.
Okay. So then let's go with only one. It is so, like, it's always the argument for all these offensive coordinators. If we just have that guy, and at a certain point, I think adapt, realize that you may not be able to get that guy, and that sucks, but let's deal in reality.
If I had a gun, I would have shot myself. There's no adapting.
Let's deal.
You know what it is?
What?
The guy exists that works for this offense. Y'all motherfuckers just don't want him anymore.
Because you see
Carson
how his brain
Wentz
works.
I don't give a fuck.
You should care about how his brain works.
Carson Wentz is built for this offense. He's perfect for this offense.
Oh my God.
It's whether or not he can get his head out of his ass.
Oh, that's huge. That's a really good point, KDot.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Taylor Heinicke. I need Taylor Heinicke to get his head out of his ass too, and thinking that everything needs to be like a fucking movie.
Not everything needs to be.
Why does he need to make everything harder than it needs to be? You don't
talk
need
about
the
Carson, or you talk about Taylor?
I'm
Because
talking
it's the
about Taylor.
same thing. It's the same thing. Carson
No
makes it harder
shit,
on
but
himself too.
But
Right,
here's
so-
the thing: one guy's built for the offense, Amit. One guy's not. He can't execute the way the offense needs to run, which is why God damn it, it's not fucking rocket science. You assholes just want to fucking fillet the shit out of Taylor every fucking week. It's ridiculous. Get his cock out of your mouths. It's so, I don't understand how much cock Taylor has that all of you have a fucking piece of it. You can love the dude. It's fine. Guess what he is? A backup fucking quarterback almost anywhere else.
Well, you agree
We
he's
love
top
him.
20.
I didn't agree he's top 20. You
Yes, you
said
did.
he's
Earlier
top
in the
20.
episode, you
No, I
agreed he
didn't.
was
I didn't
top
agree.
20.
I didn't agree. I didn't agree.
Yes, you did.
I acknowledge what you said. I didn't agree.
Okay.
I acknowledge what you said. I didn't agree.
Well, I need time to edit this episode, so unfortunately we have to.
And then have me sitting here like I fucking hate Taylor Heinicke, and I don't. But you guys just got blinders on.
Dude, you absolutely hate Heinicke.
Oh, y'all motherfuckers got blinders on.
Just playing. You know,
Lord Heinicke can do no wrong. Lord Heinicke, that's our guy.
wrong. I just acknowledge reality. KDot, that's all I'm trying
No,
to do.
you don't. You are in a Taylor Heinicke fucking universe.
I acknowledge that he makes mistakes.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. What, like every human being does?
You have just.
He's a human being. He makes mistakes.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Thank you so much for that one.
But you're saying Carson's built perfectly for this offense from the top
Yes, he
perspective.
can throw the ball downfield.
But Dude,
Taylor can't throw the ball downfield.
he's washed, bro. He's washed. I'm sorry. Like, I want it to work. I would love for it to work, but it's
Like,
not him.
It could probably. Here's the thing, and I've said time and time again, it might be true, but guess what? He hasn't had a shot with the team the way it looks now. If it doesn't work, guess what? Back to fucking Heinicke.
I think the team looks the way it does now because Taylor is just playing so well.
Or the defense figured out that we have to get rid of William Jackson, or the defense got Cam Curl back, or the fact that Brian Robinson is suffering from a gunshot wound. No, none of those things mattered. The fact that the offensive line had one variation and started more than one week in a row.
We talk about what's the template. Good defense running the ball. You know I'm just trolling you right now.
I'm really hot. I got a fucking fan on me, and I'm gonna have a heart attack. It's gonna be your fucking fault. When I fucking die today, it's on you. And I still expect the numbers to be great, and I want you to use it to make this shit great. And Renault's not allowed on this fucking podcast to take after me. Fuck that dude. Find another fat black man to take my goddamn spot. The motherfucker that's on those commercials, Zach Cherry, the motherfucker that's in Severance that look just like me.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So here's the plan. I will see you Monday. Hopefully, KDot will as well.
So fuck everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.